Hey, it's Monster, one half of your dynamic hosting duo of the Nerdy Man Room Show. Proudly bringing you another Man Room Short. Enjoy, and as always, please remember, viewer discretion is advised.
With that, that actually kind of leads us into our topic for tonight, which we were going to talk about the Free Comic Book Day and all the books that came out. So I think we'll jump into the books in a minute, but let's give a little bit of history of Free Comic Book Day. And I didn't realize how long it had been going on. I know it's been a while, and we've always gone to it and done stuff, but it's an annual promotional event sponsored by a combined effort of pretty much all the North American comic book industry publishers. But it started in 2002, so this is the 20-year anniversary, and I did not even realize that until after I was looking this information up. But usually it's held the first weekend of May. A couple of times it's been moved out, like 2004 was set to July, and then it was in August of last year just because of shipping issues getting the books out there. But this is one of the few promotional events that did not shut down for COVID-19. They actually still had it in 2020, but instead of having the physical event where you go get the free comics, they started, hey,
Digital.
we'll send them out digitally, or if you buy the comics you in your local comic store gets them, we'll send them a few at a time. So over the course of I think it was like from May until September, they sent like 2 books once a month out, and those were given out. But the ultimate goal of it is, hey, how do we bring new readers into a local comic book store? How do we get new readers involved in the comic book industry? It started with that, and with Diamond promoting it and getting everything together and coordinating it, which now Diamond is not the only distributor anymore. We know everybody's pretty much gone their own way. So, but they're still doing a lot of the coordination of it. But over 2,000 stores are involved. They give away millions of copies of whatever being published. And a lot of the stuff is either short stories or informational stories to tell you about the characters or to get you engaged in, hey, what's the new events that are coming out? Because if I'm a new reader, let's start with a new event. Don't take me backwards into all this other stuff.
That's the key thing right there. It's to get the new reader in there and to try to. It's like on certain titles. It's not just reprinted stuff that they give you a few panels of to get you interested. It's a teaser for something upcoming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thanks to our sponsor, the Zone, I have a stack here. They give me everything a week in advance. So I had the luxury of going through and getting things together for the review. And I take a handful of these titles and give my fiance. She's not a comic book reader at all, but I give her a handful. It's like, hey, just check these out, see what you think. And she was pissed because like she got to the Spider-Man and Venom one, and she really got into Venom. Like for whatever reason, she like connected there. And she's like, I said, man, because there's only like a few pages. And I was like, well, what do they do next? I said, that's it. That's the key. That's what they're hoping.
Exactly.
Come to the store and buy some issues or buy back issues or whatever.
And not only do they do the free comic book giveaway, but a lot of the stores, especially because you got to go to a local store to get these, they started doing sales events that weekend, like, oh, off of this much off the action figure, this much off of back issues. These back issues are 25 cents or put 50-cent books out there. People will buy the crap out of that stuff when they come in there and they get hooked on it.
I know the Zone, they had a massive sale. It was like, what was it? $1 books for 50 cents, $3 books for $1, $5 books for $2. I mean, it was just like a huge sale. And if you want to catch up on some things, that's the time to do it. Go capitalize.
Dude, I went to the stores mostly just to get the issues because where I'm living at, I didn't have the chance to go to the Zone and get them. He sent me a link to try and get some online and all, but I was having trouble with it. So I was like, I'll just go to the store and get a few. It was I will say the store, I go to the comic book store here like once every 2 weeks just to look around and see if there's anything that catches my eye or something that I didn't order, because I mostly order mine and get them delivered because I travel so much. And I was like, okay, I'll just pop in the store every couple weeks. When I went to the store to pick up some, it was packed. And I will say this, I had to go to 2 different comic stores to get more than just a couple of issues, because there are those cretins out there who go to free comic book day and it's like, okay, you're supposed to take a copy of everything there. It's free or whatever. They will snatch up full handfuls of just one book or something and take all the copies. And then they'll try to scalp them on eBay for $1 a piece. I'm like, dude, it was free.
Yeah.
But they were having such trouble with that because they were having so many people coming in. Like the first store I went in, you could only pick out 2 of the books, and they had a stand sitting there showing you what all the books were, and they're like, pick out 2 and you'll get those 2 for every person. Like, so I got 2 and my son got 2. Then we went to another comic book store and they're like, take 5 books or whatever. And they were having to limit it because people were taking it. But the first store I went to was pretty packed, but it's usually a little bit busy, but not like it was that day. I mean, you were standing in line for a little bit to pay and stuff, just if you bought anything. The second store I went to, the line was out the door. I had to stand in the doorway for a couple minutes just to get inside to go to the table where all the books were. Yeah, and it's a smaller, it's a smaller shop physically, and I think they're a little bit smaller than, because the first store I went to is actually, there's 2 locations. They have 2 different stores. I only go to one because it's closer. The other's in downtown, and I just don't want to go park and walk to it. But I go to their second location. But I mean, and it's a bigger store. But man, that second one was just, there was people out the door, and I was like, I've been in here before, and there's usually nobody here at all but me and the person working.
Well, see, the thing about that limiting it like that, one or two things happens. Either one, you really want to be there first to get the ones you wanted.
We did that.
Or 2, if you get there, say midday, and all the mainstream titles are gone, you've got nothing but indies. It's great for those indie guys, because then, some books that you might not have picked up before, you'll pick up just, they're free, why not? And give it a spin, and, you might find something that you really like for the independent creator, which is, something that in the last few years of some of the art stories of independent stuff has become better than, your mainstream things.
Yeah, and actually, the first store we went to, and like I said, we go there several times, and the guy who works the store, or there's a couple of them because they own multiple stores, but one of the guys who works in there actually does artwork on the sides, just like prints and stuff. He's like, I love the comics and the horror movies and stuff. He said, I don't have enough time to do a full book, so I just do print drawings and stuff. And you can buy them from him when you're there, but like they had a whole table set up where he was signing stuff that he was selling, and then they had a lot of stuff there for there's like 3 or 4 conventions coming up, like an anime con, and there's a convention coming in September here where they're reuniting the cast of Batman the Animated Series and stuff, and they were giving away all this stuff for that, like, hey, here, this is coming up. So they had all that stuff. So they had a ton of stuff going on in there. It amazed me how many people were at this thing. I'm like, I go to those, and they're always busier during that time, but it seemed much more so than the last couple of years. It haven't. Maybe that's the reason it looks so much bigger, because we haven't been physically there the last 2 years for it.
You got to figure the world shut down for 2 years. Like literally, our sales department just went back to work for the first time in 2 years. Our entire sales department had not been physically on site for 2 years. They worked from home. So, and now, a lot of the mandates are loosening up, they're letting up. The fear is starting to die down. People are realizing, okay, while this is very serious, flu is just as terrifying. We don't shut down for the flu.
Yeah.
Get out and live a little. And people are starting to get out and live again for the first time. So, hey, that's great. You get people back in the comic book store, and it's definitely great for them.
Yeah, and since you brought that up, that's the last thing I had from the history, and it's kind of important. So this has become such an event over the last 20 years that now it's considered a part of the official Children's Book Week events that they do. Okay. So you actually have this being promoted not only in comic book stores, but participating schools are taking part in it. They're giving them out. They're having them in their book fairs and stuff. And then I've seen some toy retailers too that have like physical stores, not your online ones, but like your vintage toy stores and stuff. Because one of those is right next door to one of these comic shops I went to. They're getting them as well. I mean, anybody who buys anything from Diamond or who can get their hands on these, or the children's book stuff, where if maybe it's a library, because I've seen some libraries involved as well as schools, but they're taking this stuff to even a larger audience that way. And it's great to get kids involved in reading, because like my son loves to read comics just because he picked it up from me. But for those kids who don't, or who don't like to read, maybe this is their entry to it, because it's a little bit less on the reading and more pictures, and then you can get into the reading. But it helps also the comic industry, right? Because the industry, it's printed medium is a hard industry in today's world with electronics and computers and stuff. And even though you can get the comics digitally, even though you can get comics digitally, it's still considered a printed medium, and it still isn't as popular as it was like in the 90s. So how do you get more interest into it? So I really enjoy stuff like the Free Comic Book Day and picking up stuff I normally wouldn't. Now, again, all I got was like 7 titles because I was limited to 5 and 2. And what my son wanted was really for him and his set was a repeat of 2 of the ones I already got. So I was like, all right, so I don't have 9, I've just got 7. But
so that's what you got to coordinate beforehand. Look here, son.
I tried that. I tried that.
Grab these and we'll swap. Because he hasn't learned how to share like we had to do, or you had to swap comics and cards and things of this nature to, fully build.
And to be fair, we had so much planned for that day that we weren't sure. I didn't know we were going to the second comic book store. We went in the first one because I was like, all right, got to be up at this time. The store opens at 11. We need to be there right at 11. Get that because we got to get back over here because the movie was we were going to see Doctor Strange. That starts at 2:45. It's a 20-minute drive roughly from my house to that area just because of traffic. You got to get on the interstate. It's not far. It's 15 miles, but there's no easy way to get there. So you're going in traffic. So it's like, we got to get all this stuff done. And we got through at the comic book store so much earlier. I was like, oh, I got time. We're going to go around to the other one because it's not far from the theater.